It's time for Push to Play, your weekly trophy podcast with Mindy and CJ.
Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us for episode 23 of Push to Plat. Look, we're back again this week. We have a wonderful guest. We have The Mind is a City, or I'm very tired, The Mind is a City, and we even have me, CJ, recording from a new location with actual first world internet. So we will see what happens today, listeners. Hopefully we come across loud and clear for you. But look, why don't we find out if Mindy is still alive? Mindy, are you still there? Are you still with us?
Barely.
Should we give you a few moments to adjust while we introduce the guest?
That sounds good.
Okay. Today we're joined by Slamma Jammer 28. How are you today, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, CJ?
Look, I'm pretty good. I'm not going to complain at this stage, But look, let's get 20 minutes in, and we'll see how things sit then, shall we? Now, look, I understand that you have a fascination with pineapples, sir.
That would be a correct statement. Yes.
Could you explain to us, our listeners that aren't familiar with this? When did this start? How did it come about?
Well, it was about 8 years ago. There was actually 2 shows at the same time. One was How I Met Your Mother. There was a episode in there with a pineapple where it was kind of just in the side, and one of the characters kept asking, "But what about the pineapple?"
The pineapple incident.
Yes, the pineapple incident. He made a huge deal about the pineapple. No one cared about the pineapple, but all he could fixate on. And later on in the series, he had like a big old map drawn out, and he was trying to solve what it was for and all that. That was hilarious. And also, one of my favorite television shows is Psych. And Psych has a running gag where there's a pineapple in every single episode. So I got my wife involved with Psych, and then we both kind of started looking for the pineapples, and that became a thing. And then one Christmas, she did the 12 Days of Christmas, and like half of the gifts were pineapple related. And at that point, it just took off, and like I got pineapple stuff here. I got pineapple wall hooks, pineapple wallpapers, pineapple decorative plaques on the wall. It was just pineapples everywhere, and it's a collection that keeps growing, and my fondness for it will never end.
That's fantastic. Do you enjoy eating pineapple as well, or is it just a collecting thing?
Oh, it is delicious. Yes, absolutely.
I like it. Now, Mindy, I understand you've been pretty busy today at this MoGame conference. Is that correct? Did I say it right?
That's why I'm so tired. I'm getting old, man.
Join the club.
So I talked about this. I think during Velvet's episode I talked about this. But I live in the Midwest, and every year there's something called MoGameCon, Missouri Game Convention, and it's the biggest, mostly retro gaming convention in the Midwest. So you get people from Chicago, and I met a guy who came in from Michigan today. So this kind of area of the Midwest, everyone comes down and spends money or sells stuff. And this year I was selling stuff. And I did mention that I wanted to buy a second Vita, and I did do that. So I now have a second Vita. Yeah.
Fantastic. So was this a successful day?
Yeah, it was successful. Could have been more successful, could have sold more. I'm happy with what I did sell.
Did you see any strange occurrences there, perhaps? Any animals? Or?
I did. So there was a macaw. This guy was walking around with a macaw on his shoulder. A very chatty macaw, actually. Never really got an explanation as to why he did. He's just some dude walking around buying stuff, and he's got a macaw on his shoulder. The macaw got on my shoulder and liked me very much, so that was nice. Walter Day was there, and for those who don't know, Walter Day he runs Twin Galaxies, which is a It was an arcade. I don't know if the arcade is still open anymore, but now it's like the official high score or speed run leaderboard. So it used to be that if you wanted to set a record on arcade games like Donkey Kong or things like that, you would have to go to the Twin Galaxies arcade in, I don't remember where it is. I think it's up in Minnesota. I'm probably dead wrong about that. But you used to have to go there and set the record on those machines. If you ever saw Wreck-It Ralph, the guy who owns the arcade called after Walter Day in the referee jersey, the black and white. So he was there and that was cool. And then a bunch of YouTube celebrities I don't know. I sold some games. I had no idea who the dude was, and but I'm seeing other people in the local gaming community posting pictures, and this guy's in like all of them. So I was like, oh, I guess I sold a YouTube celebrity some video games. Okay.
It obviously didn't make your day. Your brush with YouTube celebrity
fame. I didn't know who he was. I actually
you should have got him to sign something.
I used to work at GameStop, and there was a day that I was on shift by myself, and this guy came in, and we were talking about horror games and stuff, and apparently he was an athlete. He was a hockey player, and I had no idea who the dude was until he walked out, and some customer walked in and was freaking out in front of me, and he was like, "Oh my god, that was," I don't even remember his name. And I Googled, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that was him. Okay.
Well, it's good to see Ninja has time to drop by and buy some games off you, even if you don't know who he is. So Slamma, let's turn the focus back to you, sir. Would you like to give our listeners a little background on yourself, on your gaming, or whatever you'd like, aside from the pineapples that we've already covered?
Sure. So my gaming history goes back quite some time. While I was growing up, my parents did not and would not buy us any console of any sort. So I had to grow up on PC games. I say that like it's a negative thing. It was a good thing at the time. Back in the day, you used to be able to resell PC games, and I had hundreds and hundreds of PC games. So I had a great library growing up. I played a ton of games, but they would never let us get us a console. So at Blockbuster back in the day, they had that rental thing. I believe you guys spoke about this a while back, where we would rent a console for a few days and play it, and it was the greatest 3 days of my life. And as time went on, I just yearned for the day I could get a console. I would go to friends' houses, I'd play theirs, and it was just like, oh man, this is just so awesome. Why don't my parents love me? But finally made it to college, and one of the first things I did was buy a PlayStation 2 at the time. They didn't have a PlayStation 3 yet, but I bought the PlayStation 2, gamed on that a whole bunch, and then, I just proceeded on with the PS3. I actually bought Rock Band before I had a PS3, because I would loved Guitar Hero when I had PS2, and so I heard about Rock Band coming out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a PS3 someday, so I'm just going to go ahead and buy it. So I bought it, and I played it on a friend's in his dorm room. And then it just went on, and I got my PS4, I got my Vita. So that's my gaming history. A little personal history. I actually am a event director at PlayStationTrophies.org, the same wonderful site that Mindy is a guide team member at. So what I do is basically I will help create events for a community to earn trophies, give them some sort of separate avenue for doing so. So that's mainly what I do in my spare time outside of actual working. And I'm also a parent of 2 and a husband. All these other things that it's a little volume in the background that goes on.
Just the normal.
But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of my life. It's a lot of chaos, but I try to make times to play games when I can.
You're making us look bad.
Sorry.
It's another high achiever, Mindy. What are we supposed to do here? But look, no, we're going to get into all that event directing later on. But so it's safe to say you're primarily, or you're only a PlayStation gamer now. Is that correct?
I actually do have a Switch. I got that for Christmas because I wanted to play some Mario. So I got that, and my oldest son, he loves it. He loves watching me play Mario. He makes all the noises. He goes, wah, 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 woohoo! He jumps around. He has a blast watching it. So I have that as well. I had a Xbox 360 at one point, but it wasn't enough for me to enjoy it, so I sold that. But basically now I am strictly Sony outside of the Switch.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, excellent. So normally at this point, listeners, we delve into favorite genres and things, but we actually have a question today from Fernando on the Twitter, and that sort of covers it. So I'll throw this question out, Slammer, and perhaps you and Mindy would like to answer as we go. So the question here is, tell us your favorite games out of 3 different genres. I'm just curious. VNs do count, by the way. Excellent. So that's a VN lover. I like it. Yeah. So Slammer, do you have some games or you can throw out for us here that you like?
Sure. Since the stipulation there was that VNs do count, I'm going to go ahead and give my favorite VN. That would be the only VN I believe I've played, which was Hatoful Boyfriend. The wonderful pigeon dating simulator. Yeah.
Yes.
That was I actually really enjoyed that story. Starting off, the story was like, okay, this is kind of dumb, but as you go further into all the different endings, it actually got pretty interesting. And there was this one final ending that took 2 or 3 hours to read, but it was actually really cool.
Surprisingly deep, like deeper than a game about
very deep.
Pigeon dating has any right to be.
Yeah. It went completely 180 on me. I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? This is insane. And actually now thinking, I did play the sequel or whatever, but I did that for an event. Yeah. I did it for an event though, so I didn't really pay attention to it, which I do want to go back and read it just to see if it holds up to anything, which I don't think it does, but I do like to actually get my money's worth for my game, so I'll probably go back and play it sometime. And another genre, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just before you go on, I was going to say, what a novel experience, listeners. We have someone that's played a VN in English on this podcast. Is that a first, Mindy?
I mean...
Has there been?
I've played it and read it.
Well, no need to brag. No, I think that's wonderful. Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Please
okay,
continue.
And the second, I'm going to go with RPG. That would be Fallout 2, which was the original top-down isometric perspective RPG. Actually, I was thinking Fallout 1 as my favorite, but thinking about it a little more, Fallout 2 was much deeper, and there was just so much more you could do, so I'd have to give it to that one. And the final one, I will have to go with the adventure / not that one. Strike that. Sorry. Puzzle genre. There we go. I couldn't really pick one, but the Pick-a-Picks series, which is Picross. I love Picross. I have 8 or 9 different versions of it on my phone. So as soon as those games come out, I'm all about it. I've actually written the guides for those on PlayStationTrophies.org. So if I had to pick one of them, I'd have to say Pieces, because it's a little more intricate than just the normal ones, where it has each puzzle is a piece of a larger puzzle. So you can't really look at it and say, oh, it's probably going to look like this. You can't really tell until you have a whole picture of what it's going to look like, which I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Mindy, would you like to throw? I'm sure you're gonna double whammy here and get your usual question in as well. So please be my guest.
Let's see. Well, let's go pseudo visual novel here. I'm gonna say, well, because it's not really. There's a lot of reading, but it's not strictly a visual novel because there's a lot of gameplay in it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go Danganronpa.
It's a good choice.
That same kind of like Danganronpa Phoenix Wright, where there's a lot of reading, but then you investigate stuff, and so the actual gameplay is there. Or it's all kind of on the same tier for me. I had a hard time picking between Danganronpa and Phoenix Wright and the Zero Escape series. It's all the same kind of game where it's pseudo visual novel with chunks of gameplay, but the genres are quite different.
That's the one with the murderous teddy bear, isn't it? Danganronpa. Is that right?
Yes, Monokuma.
The yin yang bear.
Yeah, that's right.
The yin yang bear.
Remember
Yes.
his name. Yeah, Monokuma. That's right. That's a great game.
I like him a lot. I wasn't a huge fan of the third one, but those are personal reasons. So those are there. I like those quite a bit and recommend them. They're a lot easier to access now because they've ported them onto the PS4. Used to be you could only play them on the Vita, but now they've been ported on the PS4, which is nice. What else? I got to go point and click, but I don't know which one to give you here. Because slam point and click is a genre. So
Mm-hmm.
The hidden object game.
No, not a hidden object game though. I don't know if I should go Monkey Island or Sam and Max. The original Sam and Max is a lot of fun. Or Day of the Tentacle. These kind of LucasArts point and clicks were all pretty great, and I played them quite a bit when I was younger. Fate of Atlantis is a classic. I think I brought that up recently.
Well, you can go with them all if you like.
Yeah, they're all great.
I think that's acceptable.
This is kind of turning into what 3 genres do you like?
Yeah. Well, it's a broad answer. Yeah, it's a broad church here. Yeah. And do you have another one? Another genre?
I guess kind of the third person shooters. I like Uncharted. I like third person shooters with a story, like a nice story. Nice meaty story. So that's why I like the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
It's why I've gotten into the Far Cry games a little more. But then I also really, really, really like Assassin's Creed. I still do.
Yeah. despite the last 100 hours, you still do. I like it.
Despite some questionable entries in the series, and you'd think I'd have fatigue from it, but no. It's the same as Lego games for me. Like it's the same damn game, but I still have fun with them.
Yeah.
So I'll keep playing them.
Yeah. That's good. That's.
And then little bonus, I guess, JRPG. Let's go 16-bit. So that era, Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 4 and 6, love them.
You can't do wrong with any of those.
No, they're all great.
Oh, there you go, Fernando. That's plenty there. Look, I'll throw in, just because no one did a rhythm game. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only person that likes the music rhythm games. But the Hatsune, the Project Diva X, I thought was exceptional. It's pretty long. It's probably about 100 hours or so. It's very grindy, like all of those games. But it has a good difficulty spike at the end. And I mean, the songs are great. So I would recommend that one. And then as far as driving games go, well, there is only one. And seeing we're being very liberal with our time periods here, then I'm just going to be liberal with my console choice and throw out Forza Horizon, the greatest racing game ever made and series without a doubt. Both 3 set in Australia was fantastic, and the current one 4 in the UK. And of course, Mindy, as I'm not sure if you know or not, but the second DLC expansion for that game was actually a Lego world for the cars. So
I did know
fantastic.
about that, yeah.
So they always do crazy sort of expansions. So this was very crazy, but it's very cool. So I'd throw those 2 out there just to round us off. So that's a ton of games. I don't know, Fernando, you'll have to let us know, what you enjoy for your games as well, or any of the listeners can. So look, now that we're talking games, this is a much better start than sometimes, where we get sidetracked for ages. Why don't we go straight into what we've been playing? And Slamma, we should start with you, I feel, because your list there's a lot of quality here, which is, unusual for us. So please let us know. What have you been playing?
Yeah, so I typically actually don't get to play all that often, and I knew I was going to come on here, so I figured I'd, try to put a little bit more interesting things on there just so I'd have something to talk about. Not because I wanted to complete them or anything, but yeah. So here we go. I'll start with, it was actually a couple weeks ago, I finished the latest Pick-a-Pix, which is Pick-a-Pix Color 2, just another Picross game. Just, if you love Picross, it's right up your alley. I love all of them. So I finished that one, and then I finished Crashbots, which I've been working on for about a month, which is kind of a endless runner, lane shifting type game where you have to avoid obstacles and shoot objects, and was actually pretty tough, not because it's a tough game, but because the mechanics weren't as smooth and as crisp as they could be, so it took a lot of practice to get the idea of perfect out of your head and try to learn, okay, this is how it actually works, so you can get through that. So that took a lot of practice to get through. And then I finished Portal Knights last night, which was just a long, horrendous grind. I actually had someone Sherpa me through the story, and they got me to the final boss. So I got all those story things, and then it came down to, okay, you need to do your upgrades, you need to craft 1,000 of this, you need to mine 56,000 blocks, yada yada yada. So I spent, I don't know, like the last week for like 3 hours a night just trying to finish that off. And then yesterday I finished, actually that was today, sorry. Today I finished Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, which was a tough one.
Well done.
Because it had those 2 tough ones where you have to finish the obstacle course in 15 seconds and then finish that last airplane scene in under a minute. Those were tough, took a lot of practice, but I finally got those ones. And then this morning, I started Wolfenstein 2.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not going to finish that one and get the platinum because there is no way I'm going to be able to do the Mine 11. There's absolutely no way.
Yeah.
I don't have.
Maybe if you begged Easty, he might take pity on you.
I don't even think he would. I think he's done his due time, having done it twice now. So wouldn't blame him for not wanting to do it ever again.
Yeah, I don't know how far you're into that game, but the writing in that game is fantastic. Even at the start, it's quite it's quite abrupt. Yeah, I liked it. That's good. So look, I'm just going to go back a little bit because you threw out a lot of stuff there, and I was thinking I get distracted by lots of shiny things, and then I lose focus. But I just want to go back to Crashbots for a second because this game sounds familiar. I'm sure I've played 5 minutes of this game. Now, only a handful of people have actually platted this game, so it must be quite tough.
Yeah, I'm the 7th person apparently, according to PlayStation profiles at least. Yeah, I don't think it's tough. I just think it's not something people want to do because I think the toughest part is that there are 5 quote unquote endless levels, which there's a world section and then an endless section. The world, you have like a short minute-long course that you have to do and get 3 stars and do all this stuff. But then there's the endless where you have to reach 3 different goals for running a certain distance and also, earning X amount of coins or destroying X amount of targets. So it's just really tough in that aspect where you have to, learn the controls and you have to actually be focused on it. I don't think there's a lot of people that actually own it. I think, let's look, 25 people own it in North America. So I think it's just not one of those popular games. So that may be why there's not many people who have got the platinum.
It's one of those games where you have to 3-star every world as well, isn't it? So you have to perfect every level. Yeah, that can be frustrating. You must have quite a high frustration limit. I'm impressed.
I'd actually call myself a bit of a masochist because I like playing games like that really force me to be better. Like I really loved Call of Duty World at War.
Yes,
which a lot of people would say you are insane if you enjoy that. Like if it's got any sort of difficulty attached to it, I'm all about it.
That's true, but then I see you still have Daggerwood here as well. So look there.
And actually, funny story with that, I actually continued playing after I earned the platinum.
Yes, it was a good game. Yeah.
It actually was. Like it got way better after you earned the platinum, which was kind of frustrating because if the platinum was, even after the end of the first world, people would have said, wow, this is actually really cool because they add a lot of mechanics that aren't introduced before you get to the platinum.
That's right. Now, I know you do a lot of VR stuff, don't you? I think I've seen some of your guides and things like this for VR.
I do own a VR, yeah. I wouldn't say I've done too much. I actually had about a week where I just head down, played a lot of VR. So I got a lot of VR on my profile in that case, but there's still a lot I have to play and want to play, like Astrobot. I have that. I haven't opened it. I don't know why, because it's one of the best VR games out there, but I just haven't had the time to put myself to it and do it. But yeah, I got some VR games out there. I love the VR. The first time I put it on, I felt like a little kid again. Like I put it on, I looked around like this is so awesome. And then I loaded up the Playroom and did the Astrobot demo in there. Oh my gosh, it seriously felt like a little kid. I was giggling, and my wife, I think she recorded it, and she was just in astonishment of how much I was enjoying it.
Yeah, it can be. The experience can be phenomenal. I agree. I noticed that you did a little bit of Thumper as well, the aggressive music rhythm game, I suppose you could say.
Yeah,
you enjoyed it?
It's great.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually easier in VR.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're actually there and it's a little closer to you, so you have a lot easier time seeing what's going on. But yeah, I really enjoy that. It's kind of a rhythm game where the beats you have to hit kind of match up, so I like it in that case. The music is interesting, and it's definitely tough, that's for sure.
It is, yeah. I remember when I first read the description for it, and someone had written, some journalist had written, it's like a music violence game, and I was like, what is a violent music game? Like that can't be. But yeah, I mean, the use of percussion, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
great.
jarring at times.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's a wide array of stuff. Excellent, good. So, Mindy, what have you been up to this week?
Not a ton. I actually, before I move on, I'm going to go back on your list a little more, Slamma, and I want to ask you about Super Life of Pixel, because this seems
Yes.
right up my alley.
Yeah, that's another hidden gem that not many people know about. It's a platformer, more or less, where you're going through this. It's a progression where you start in the 8-bit and then you work your way up to the 16-bit and all the way up to 32-bit. You go through each generation of console. You got your Atari, you got your Commodore 64, and you go through each world, and the worlds are designed to mimic what it kind of looked like back in the day when you were playing on those things. So it's really cool in that aspect. It's your basic platformer where you got to go through the level, find all the collectibles, and get to the end. And it's pretty difficult too, because it's one of those where you have to collect everything in one run, and the levels get longer and longer and tougher. But it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
So there's no stage select or anything?
There is. So yeah, you can go back and clean up, but it's not you have to play through once entirely. It's you play through the level, you earn it, you open the next one, you play that one, you try to get everything and go to the next one. So yeah, there is a stage select, and
That's also
it's
cross-buy with PS4, I believe. So you could attack it on either side, Mindy.
yes.
It's on my list. It's right up my alley, man. I'm just worried about this speed run. I see a speed run trophy here.
Yeah, it's a cumulative one. So your best time in that level, so you can go back and play the level again and just do it much faster. It's really not that bad, because you'll find you're taking 18 minutes to finish a level, but you're taking 18 minutes to get every single thing. So when you go back, you're like, okay, I just need to finish the level now, and then you can finish it in like 3 minutes. So when I finished it, I think I was 3 hours and 20 something minutes, and that was with actually not trying to do 3 hours and 22 minutes. So yeah, it's not that bad to do.
It's pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah,
It's
that is
pretty good.
I see you've got the Licky the Lucky Lizard Lives Again. I love that game. That is fantastic, that game. Anyway.
Yeah, I played that for a side event,
okay.
and it was an enjoyable little game.
The little alliteration there in the morning, awesome. So Mindy, now what have you been up to?
Yes.
What have you been playing?
Played a couple of things this week. Trying to remember the last time I was here, I talked about. I played a little more of Conga Master, but the RNG has not been kind to me this time.
No.
And I'm getting kind of bored playing the first 2 stages over and over again, but it's better than playing the whole game. Something I have played that is not on my profile because the trophies haven't gone live yet is Sagebrush. And that comes out, I think it comes out on Tuesday.
Excellent. Now, this is another cult simulator, isn't it? Or a cult game.
It's another cult-inspired game, yes. I still maintain that there is no cult simulator because no one, you are not running the cult.
It should be.
But this one, whereas, what's it called? Church in the Darkness, right?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Whereas Church in the Darkness is you infiltrating a cult compound, an active cult compound, like Jonestown. Sagebrush is more Heaven's Gate. It's an abandoned compound, so it's a well, I guess you'd call it a walking sim, wouldn't you? It's just kind of an exploration narrative kind of game where you just walk around and pick up journal entries and figure out what happened to this cult.
Is this a retro style game?
It's lo-fi, so think like PlayStation 1 graphics. I'm not entirely sure why it's in that that style. It doesn't hurt the game, I don't think, but I also didn't see a huge reason for it other than, I guess, less time and resources and effort to program the game than if they'd done it in 3D or Unity or something like that.
So this is a Ratter Game of the Week, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know if it's the Ratalaika game. Is it? I don't think it is.
Oh, it's not?
Because I think there's only
I thought they were
one
ordered.
list.
I think it might be. They tweeted
Oh,
it.
did they? Oh, then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Then there's going to be like 20 more lists.
Probably.
But I actually liked this quite a bit. I was disappointed that the story was a little obvious. I figured out the twist about midway, a third or midway through the game, and I was right. So that's always a little disappointing in a mystery game. But I liked it. It's got some nice atmosphere. There's nothing to jump scare on you here.
Yeah.
But there is something very, very creepy about it. Maybe it's just that I think cults are really, really creepy.
Well, creepy and fascinating.
Yeah, there is a sick fascination there too
Yeah,
for
of
me.
course.
But
Yeah.
they are very creepy cults. They are.
And seeing none of us can see the trophy list, is it do you have to finish the game? Is it sort of a natural
Yes,
attrition?
yes, you do. You do have to finish the game. The majority, let's see, 1, 2, 3, about 4 or 5 trophies are story related. One of them is a story related trophy that is missable. You don't come across those too often.
No.
Well, it's a weird thing. Like I remember on Deponia, you can miss some story related trophies if you skip cutscenes. And in this one, there's a point where you search an area, and you have to do this to trigger events in the game, where you search an area and there's a note, and you don't specifically have to read the note, but if you don't read the note, you don't get the story related trophy. I mean, it's the searching that's the thing that propels the story, not specifically reading that note.
So it might be worth checking a guide then for
Yeah,
that
I
one.
did actually write a guide. It's not posted yet because the game's not out yet.
No.
But it's also very quick. I got the platinum in about a half an hour.
Okay. Oh wow, it's really quick. Okay.
It is, if you know what you're doing, it takes about a half an hour. If you don't know what you're doing, it takes about an hour and a half. It was designed to be short. Yeah, it's kind of a smaller map, and even the game description says 1 to 2 hours just in the description of the game. So they're very upfront about that.
And are we going to talk some Assassin's Creed today? Are you going to fill us in on your progress?
We could if you want.
don't
I
mind.
haven't finished the DLC yet. I'm almost there. I have played all of the Legacy of the First Blade, and I've finished 2 of the 3 episodes of Fate of Atlantis.
Nice. Which one do you prefer?
Slamma, you don't play Assassin's Creed, do you?
I have played Assassin's Creed 2, and that's it. I want to play all the other Assassin's Creed, but I feel like I'm so far behind, I'm just a lost cause at this point.
Well, I can tell you which ones to play and which ones to avoid if you'd like.
Avoid Brotherhood.
Yeah, honestly, you can go from just 2 to 4 and read a summary of. It's not that they're not good. It's that at this point, you'd be fighting the controls more than there's been innovations in how games control since these earlier games came out.
I mean, these last 2 games, you could almost just start there now, I think, couldn't you? I don't think
the last 2 are a complete overhaul of how these games work. So really, I think they should be judged on a different plane as everything prior to Assassin's Creed Origins, because it took much more of a kind of RPG slant after that with equipment management and things like that.
It's very open, yeah. No, not vertical at all. No. Can I ask which of the DLC expansions, whatever, the first or the second, which one did you enjoy more, or are you enjoying more?
I'm actually enjoying Fate of Atlantis more.
Yes,
because I like Greek mythology a lot. So this is fun for me. I think my one big suggestion would be they should have combined episodes 1 and 2, so you're switching between the worlds. Because episode 1 is Persephone, and her kind of paradise.
Yes.
And then episode 2 is Hades, and you're in the underworld. And as you might know, in Greek mythology, Persephone and Hades are intertwined quite a bit, actually. But they bring in a lot in episode 2. They bring in Poseidon, who is Hades' brother, and the god of the sea, along with Zeus. And I feel like they should have done the 3 tiers of the brothers. So you're playing one in the underworld, switching off to the ideal world that Persephone has built, and just kind of swap back and forth like she would have done. And then one episode underwater with Poseidon, and then one up on, I guess, Mount Olympus or whatever with Zeus. And then I was like, well, that's just God of War, isn't it?
What did you find? Like, I mean, they're very striking, aren't they, between Elysium and the underworld? The settings are very striking in the design. How did you find that?
I had to laugh in Hades because I was like, oh, it's like every first-person shooter game. It's all dreary and beige.
Listeners, it struck me as the closest I'll ever get to playing a FromSoft game, actually, that underworld. Because it's very dark and dingy and depressive, isn't it? And restrictive, I suppose.
It really is, yeah.
Which I quite enjoyed the Elysium. I like the setting, not so much the story. I like the underworld story much better. I think it's very clever, the way they're reintroducing the characters and things, but I'm not as big a fan of the settings. So I'm looking forward to. Did you say you've started the third one yet, or you're close to starting?
No, I haven't started it yet.
Yeah, I'm in much the same position, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that will play out. Yeah, good. And anything else you want to throw out there?
I did play Bear With Me. I think we talked about this last week.
Well, you're the first achiever for Bear With Me, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're the only achiever. Oh no, or they
I
might be
will say, I know there have been others. It's just I think it hasn't updated yet. I'm the only 100%er so far. I will say this is the most messed up trophy list I have ever seen, and I'm including my favorite bugbear, Hitman 2. No, it's a very messed up trophy list because when it came out on PC, Bear With Me was a 3-episode game. And then there was a DLC prequel episode called The Lost Robots. What they've done for the Platinum is they've taken robots and made that the base list of the game. And then they've taken the 3 episodes for the main Bear With Me game, and they've removed 85% of the achievements and then tacked that on as a DLC list. It makes no sense. It means that you'll get the platinum for the base game in about an hour, but then you'll take about 3 hours to get the DLC trophies.
Sounds like a good game for me.
It's really messed up. I actually really like the game. It is an argument for playing a game, because Slamma, you said you did this with Daggerhood?
Yes.
This is another argument for continuing to play a game after you've gotten all of the trophies, because once you get all of the trophies for the DLC, there's still about a half an hour of the game left, and it gets dark. It gets dark and twisty. It's fairly David Lynch inspired. I liked it. I dug it. I liked this game a lot.
Yeah. So you recommend?
Yeah, I do recommend. There are 2 purchasing options in the store. There's the base game that's like $6, and then there's the base game and the DLC at $15. That's the one you want to buy. Is the $15 one, because I have not seen an option to buy just the DLC. So you don't want to double dip.
No. If you buy just the base game, is that the plat then?
That's the platinum, yeah.
The plat, yeah. Okay, but if you want it 100%, you need to buy both at once. Yeah. In the package, yeah. Okay, yeah. It is unusual. But look, Teddy Bear, why would you not want to play that game? Maybe we just have to bear with them with that trophy.
Oh, don't even. I will say, if you do pick this up and you do like it, there is another game that's in this kind of vein, this kind of comedy noir style, called Detective Gallo. And instead of a teddy bear, Gallo is a rooster in a trench coat, and his sidekick is a cactus. And it's kind of great. It's the same kind of kind of atmosphere for both of them, where it's very much a noir story going on. The atmosphere is very noir, but the main character is the only one who acts like they're in a noir film. Like everyone else is just a little too chipper, a little too happy, a little too satisfied with life. It's really kind of funny.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, well, that's quite a bit. That's quite a bit because I know we've been up against it the last couple of weeks with recording and stuff. So no, you've been busy and busy guide writing as well. That's excellent to hear. So look, listeners, we've talked about Assassin's Creed. So I'm still chipping away there. We don't need to discuss it anymore. Other than it's a game worthy of your time, I feel. So what else? I'll throw out maybe this game called Solo that came out last week on the store. So look, it's a walking simulator with light puzzle elements. It's very, very straightforward, but the real hook of this, I mean, it's a beautiful sort of vibrant cartoony art style with extremes in colors. So sort of very vivid greens and reds and oranges and blues. But the hook of this game is that I suppose it's a relationship sim or a relationship, I don't know, adventure, I suppose. So it asks you at the start of the game to approach it with a degree of honesty, if you so wish, and it asks you a series of questions, basically about your current relationship statuses or status from the past, and then it sort of affects the AI character accordingly. So if you're with someone at the moment, the character will be whole. If someone you're not with, or if they've passed, they'll be like a ghost shadow, or if there was no one, then I'm not sure what would happen, because obviously it changes for each one, so you'll only see the one that you choose. But it's sort of, you go around and it's sort of, there are three archipelagos, if you like, or land masses that you're doing, and you're sort of, it's the aim is to retract a beam of light to a sort of a lighthouse, if you like, and then it will, it'll provide another, a point of analysis, if you like, so, sort of like seeing a psychologist, I suppose, about, did you treat the person right? Did they treat you right? Did you use time correctly with them? All these different things, So I'm not sure if it's going to lead towards a final judgment on how you're choosing to live your life. Well, we will have to see. But look, it is a really beautiful game, and again, I think it is quite short. I think it can be done in a couple of hours, maybe 2 hours if you're racing through. But it's a game that I would recommend. I don't know that it's for everybody. There's definitely a little bit of pushback there. I'm not sure that there'd be much point in playing it if you didn't want to engage with it, because the mechanics, as I said, are quite simple. But for that alone, I think it's worthwhile. It's from the publisher Merge Games, and I believe it's about $15 NA on the store, so one of the cheaper price games. And then maybe I'll throw out as well the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. So obviously I managed to plaque the Smoots Summer Games, the Finger Olympics of PS4 games with the help of a turbo controller. This one, though, the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, only available on the Japanese and Hong Kong store at the moment. Hong Kong store is the one that you want if you wish to play it in English. And look, it is much better than the Smoots one. It's a really fine effort, actually. So obviously licensed through Tokyo and the IOC. At the moment, it comes with, I believe, 10 events, but they're going to be adding events all the way through into next year, so you can see the dates there. It has a great online mechanic where at every half an hour stretch, a series of events start, and you can sort of register in them. So you don't sort of have to wait for open lobbies. I mean, you can if you wish, but this is like an alternative. The trophy list is fairly straightforward. I think it's about a 6 to 8 hour plat, a little bit more difficult perhaps than the Smoots, but nothing unmanageable. And really, really, as I said, really well done. I mean, the customization in the game is amazing. You can change everything from your look, your voice, the pitch of your voice even, and your teammates. It has a skill tree of sort where you can change your attributes as well, and some unlocks as well. So look, if you like those sort of things, or if you're getting hyped up, a year away from the Olympics, then, that could be one to check out. But look, there's a little bit of something there across all three of us, I think, something for everybody, I hope.
CJ, yeah. we've been remiss.
We have been.
We've been remiss.
We have been. How so?
Slamma.
Yes.
How do you feel about Mega Man?
I have zero feelings about Mega Man.
How do you feel about Metroidvanias?
I enjoy them.
All right, and that is those topics covered for another week.
Yeah, I knew those were coming. I just didn't know when.
I thought we were going to miss them today, to be honest, actually. Yeah, I'm indifferent. I like it. I have no opinion.
Yeah, I think I've played a little bit of Mega Man. I haven't really ever played a full game of Mega Man, so I haven't really had any experience to generate any sort of feelings toward. And I definitely do enjoy Metroidvanias. The one most recently that I've played that I've enjoyed has been Guacamelee.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've heard about that.
I still need to play that
Yes.
one, actually.
It's great. It's a good one.
I've got it loaded up on my Vita, and I just haven't done it.
You should. It's good.
I want to.
Do it.
There's actually 2, isn't there? A Guacamelee 1 and
Yeah, there's a second one. I haven't gotten around to playing the second one, but yeah, there's a second one. I played the demo of it. It looks like it's going to be more of the first one, just bigger and better.
They're not easy games, though, are they? They're pretty challenging.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are very challenging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. Well, look, there's a ton of stuff there, but just in case.
DJ, you got the Assassin's Creed Odyssey Platinum. You didn't say anything about that.
Well, we talked about Assassins.
We talked about
Yeah.
it, but did you mention that you got the Platinum? You actually finished it.
Well, I
Woohoo.
haven't finished the DLC yet, but I finished the base game.
But I'm so proud of you. You
Well,
platinumed it.
thank you. And look, listeners, it was touch and go there. I had to get the 41 or 42 underwater, whatever number it was there, the underwater locations. And I wasn't going to do it because that sort of thing just annoys the living shit out of me. And so I didn't think I would bother because it is tracked on the map, so full credit. But following a guide and whatever else. But I will say that the wonderful PowerPix does a fantastic picture guide. I don't know if you used it, Mindy, or you just did it naturally, perhaps. But he actually has the locations itemized in groups of 5 with photos and stuff. It's really easy to follow. So I decided I would finish that game. So yeah. I think that was for Plat 700 and something. So, that's crazy. But look, yeah.
It's crazy to me that for someone who plays 5 minutes of everything, you have that many platinums.
Yes. Well, there are a lot of 5-minute games.
You're still third in Australia, and you have 755 platinums.
Yes.
I don't get you.
Well, there's a lot of 5-minute games. I mean, as we're seeing that, and there is nothing wrong with that, listeners. As I mentioned last week, the fantastic Hoggy 2, which I noticed... Oh, no, I noticed you did play that, Mindy, didn't you? So you didn't mention it, but, a remarkable game. Coming
I did play Hoggy 2,
20 minutes or something. So, I'm just a victim of my circumstances, I suppose. A child of the Ratter period, I suppose. What else can I do? But look, listeners, if you were looking for something new this week, if none of that interested you, and look, I can understand the desire to buy something new to see what it's like, why don't we take a look at the new releases then for this week? And who wants to kick us off? Which is my segue into I can't see the list where I wrote what people are choosing. Slamma. Oh, yes, that's right. Why don't you kick us off?
Sure. So it looks like the game Word Sweeper by Paugi will be dropping next week. It's a digital cross-buy between PS4 and Vita. The description says it's a crossword puzzle solved using logic and deduction. This new word game draws inspiration from the classic puzzle game Minesweeper and is exclusive to Paugi. So it looks like crosswords, but where the black is, there are letters. And in a Minesweeper type fashion, you have to decide what letters should go where based on what available letters are there. It sounds confusing, but if you look at it, it kind of makes sense. Where if you're in a corner and there's a W, and on the other side there's also a W, it'll be that one block will be a W. So it's a little bit of logic, it looks like. I'll probably pick it up. I enjoy little logic games like this.
This is a cross-buy too, isn't
It
it?
is.
You know what I like about these games? I don't know, Slammer, if you play them, if you prefer to do them on PS4 or Vita, or if you do both, I don't know. But I really like these games with the touchscreen. It seems, I don't know. Do you play these games on Vita?
Yeah, I pretty much only play them on Vita. I mean, I know they are cross-buy, but I try to not double it because I do actually not look at a guide and I try to do it all on my own. So doing it twice just seems like a chore. But yeah, I do like the touchscreen aspect of it, especially for like the Picross games. It definitely helps having that touchscreen enabled, whereas you're not scrolling across with your controller 17 squares to find one, to click a button to scroll back. Yeah, it's definitely helpful to have the touchscreen.
Yeah, look, so there you go. And look, I imagine there'll be many. Well, they usually come out in the EU and the NA, don't they? That one, they're slowly foraying into the Asian market as well now. So there'll be plenty of choice for your listeners. Mindy, what can you find for us?
Yes, sir. Well, you know that I loves me some FMV games. Got a special little place in my heart for them.
Mm-hmm.
And this week we're getting the 25th anniversary edition of Corpse Killer.
Yes.
So Corpse Killer it originally came out for the Sega CD, 3DO, like that kind of era of disc-based games. And it's a shooter. You're a army, I think you're a Marine. And you're on this island, and there's this evil doctor who has an army of zombies. And you actually you have like these special bullets that when you shoot a zombie, it brings them back to life. Like you're not killing the zombies, you're shooting them back into being human, which is interesting. It's very B movie, like even for an FMV game, the videos are pretty laughable. Like I said, special place in my heart for these schlock FMV games.
Is this like bad, like I want to say Claptrap, but I know that's not what it was called. Night Trap, wasn't it? Night Trap. Is this like purposely bad sort of thing? Or
well, I don't think Night Trap was purposely bad. I just think these are all under budget. And generally what happened with FMVs is you kind of did one take, and if you got it, you got it, and if you didn't, you didn't.
Yeah.
Some would have more of a budget and they blow it on the actors. Like Night Trap had Dana Plato, who was on the decline when Night Trap was being filmed, but she was a name that people would have recognized at the time. I don't think there was anyone in I keep wanting to say Corpse Killer. I don't think there were any kind of name people in that. I could be dead wrong though.
The only problem with this game is I was looking at the list, the percentages are very low, but then maybe that's because no one's playing it. But that Night Trap one was not an easy plat, was it, at all? It was quite involved.
It is. Night Trap was kind of a grindy plat because you have to kill. I want to say it's a number of not zombies. What are they called? Augurs, vampires, basically. For the year the game came out, which is the early 90s, like 1992, something like that. But if you play Night Trap flawlessly, you're only killing, I want to say 40 or 50. Like you're not killing a ton. So it's just a grind, and I think there's a trophy for playing it flawlessly, and then I think there's a trophy for playing it almost flawlessly. So it's more just learning what you need to do, and then you have to do it several times. So I wouldn't say hard, but I would say involved and kind of grindy.
And listeners, I believe there is an NA and an EU stack, so you can make your choice on that one. Just looking through the list, it's a bit of a light week everywhere else. I think maybe one of the bigger releases this week will be the Age of Wonders Planetfall, a turn-based strategy game. If that interests you, that's pretty specific style of game, though. And look, an Angry Birds movie 2 VR under pressure. But, the rest we could potentially take or leave. Oh, your Sagebrush as well will be coming out this week, won't it? So, yeah.
There's a new Wonder Boy game coming out.
I didn't see this, yes. Wonder Boy Returns. Remix.
Remix.
Yeah, well, there's plenty there. So, look, why don't we just quickly, because I want to get into the topic today. I'm fascinated to learn about the metagame behind the metagame behind the metagame of trophies. And so, before we do, though, look, does it come as anyone's surprise that Rockstar is potentially, maybe in a little bit of bother regarding taxation? Does that shock anyone?
I think the timing couldn't be worse because they just dropped an actual casino into Grand Theft Auto 5.
It's ironic, yes. So, listeners, what we're referencing, and I'll get both your opinions on this as well as we go, Slamma and Minty, but what we're referencing here is an article that's come out based from the UK Tax Watch that have just been going back through the corporation tax records for Rockstar games in the UK from 2009 to 2018. And basically, they're not alleging they haven't been paying tax. It's that the profits, the majority of the profits have been going to the US, where they have been paying tax on, but they've in effect been running the UK at a very small profit or potentially a loss. As a result, that has qualified them for sort of handouts from the video game fund, if you like, to help companies to maintain profit and maintain work in the UK, I suppose. So I suppose what is of interest here is that Rockstar may have made up to $5 billion off Grand Theft Auto 5, but they have claimed in excess of £42 million from that fund, which, it's wonderful, isn't it? So what do you think? Mindy, I cut you off, sorry, and Slamma, do you have any views?
I say the old saying is, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So I think, business companies nowadays, they always try to find their way around the law. So if they can divert all their profits to one region and then try and bank on something that's occurring in another region, they're going to do it. So I think it's just, how the world works these days. It's unfortunate, but you get caught and you have to pay for the price.
Yeah. That's exactly, and I think the problem. They're not alleging here that they're doing anything illegal. As you say, it's totally legal. I think this is the issue. We have this issue here in Australia. We have dreadful taxation laws here for Google and Apple and companies like this, much worse than the US. In effect that they pay no tax in our country, and it just seems to be the UK is suffering the same situation here. So it's really a question for the government to regulate, to fix it on their end, I think, not for the company. But you were mentioning, Minty, that the casino dropped for GTA.
Yeah, so they put an actual casino into Grand Theft Auto 5. So, of course, they rake in money for Grand Theft Auto Online, right? That's their big cash cow. And recently, in the last, I think, month, Rockstar has put a casino in there. I think it's called the Diamond something casino. And you can spend real money in this casino. You got to buy the premium currency or whatever, but you can spend real money in this casino. And for people who have views of microtransactions and loot boxes as gambling, like it's a very literal representation, isn't it?
Yes, very, very much so.
My understanding is there is some sort of cap on the casino. It won't let you bet more than X amount of this premium currency in any given 24 or 48-hour period. So that's something, but I don't know, man.
You've really got to wonder. It's got to forward that idea that these microtransactions, or these loot boxes, if you like, they're furthering the gambling idea by actually gambling in a casino. Like, surely it's harder now to. Imagine what EA must think with their surprise mechanics. They've really missed out here with this, I feel. But I don't know. Like, what?
Oh, that was such a gross thing to watch when she called them surprise mechanics.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so gross.
It was interesting, wasn't it? But yeah, but the interesting thing about this casino thing is that in certain countries it's already been banned in the game, and so as a result, what they've done is they used the shark cards. I believe you could buy the microtransaction cards for other things in the game too. They've actually stopped selling these cards now in some countries. So I imagine Rockstar here will have to. We'll have to look into this further. But are you surprised that they wouldn't have considered something like this, that it might cause controversy, or do you think they just don't care?
Yeah, I think probably they just don't care. You have to know that something like this, especially in this current environment of people loudly decrying against loot boxes after Star Wars Battlefront and that fiasco, I think they're just like, well, we can get away with it in the US, which is a massive market for us, and if we can also get away with it in these other countries, well, that's just a bonus. Maybe that's just me being ultra cynical. I don't know. What do you think, Slamma?
I think it's more of they thrive on the controversy. So, they've always had controversy in their game. So adding an actual casino to an in-game where, that's the main topic that's been discussed in recent history, I think they're just really banking on people talking about it more. And that actually is, word of mouth for advertising, more or less. So, and also at the same point, if anyone is going to do something as controversial as this, it's going to be Rockstar. They're going to put it in the limelight. They're going to say, okay, you guys want to do something about it? Here, try it. Try and do something to stop us. So I think it's, maybe a little ego on their side where they think they can get away with it. But at the same time, they probably can.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're very true. Will be interesting to see what happens there. But I mean, I suppose if enough countries were to ban those shark cards because of it, maybe they would change their tune just to keep the profits coming in. But we'll have to see. I think, and then look, if there's nothing else on that one, I'm just going to throw this little one out for myself because I was doing a little bit of reading about that. I don't know if the JRP, well, I mean, are they JRPGs? I don't know. Japanese visual dating anime sims, very loosely. I'm not sure if either of these interest you. So the Amiga Labyrinth Life. Yeah, I mean, the most interesting thing about this game is that we're seeing that the Switch is again getting uncensored versions. Mindy, I know you're not a Switch player, but does this, considering Nintendo's history and everything, does it surprise you that the more racier titles are now coming out on Nintendo but are being censored on PlayStation?
I don't know what Sony's deal is. They have taken a very kind of hard line recently, like in the last year or so. They're getting a little censor heavy, which is surprising. I'm not as surprised with Nintendo. I think they're finally trying to actively break out of perception that they're a kid's console. The PlayStation, the Xbox, those are for the big boys. But, Nintendo, those are for the little kids. And I think they're trying to have the best of both worlds here.
Yeah.
And say, hey, look, people in their 20s and 30s, like, we are a very viable option for gaming. And they kind of tried it with the Wii U. They did port some like there's a Call of Duty on the Wii U. But no one bought the Wii U because it was a terrible name and everyone thought it was just an updated Wii, and they said, well, why would I buy this? I already have a Wii.
I don't know. I see. Listeners, what I'm driving at here in this game, and it's a very niche game anyway. So look, if you didn't know about it, it probably wouldn't interest you anyway. But is this Amiga Labyrinth Life? Which look, I picked it up the other day. It's a nice game in a way. It's a turn-based. It's a beautiful looking game.
Oh, Omega.
Omega, sorry. Did I say Amiga?
Sorry, I was hearing Amiga, like the system, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I should apologize. So it's got it's got a relationship builder or everything else, but the censorship in these games, and I think this is a discussion for another day. But maybe being slightly older and this not appealing to me hugely, I see the other side of it. But all they've really, the game. This will discuss you indeed. As you do the dungeons, you grow in strength, and of course, as you grow in strength, your breasts grow larger, more powerful, if you like, and so that by the end of the dungeon, depending on your performance, you can be very, very top heavy, challenging to stand up, but lethal to your enemies, of course. So the big difference between the Switch and the PS4 one is that the clothing is present in the PS4 one, and there's I believe a boobs rock paper scissors game, which involves the fondling of the breasts, which has been removed from the PS4. So obviously, these are things that most people would probably agree that they could do with censorship on. But I just wanted to put that out there for the listeners. We talk about little bits of censorship in Devil May Cry or whatever else, but this is maybe a little bit of censorship that can be a bit more understood. I don't know. I don't think any of us can die on a cross for this game. But look, that aside, it is quite a fun game. The first couple of hours I've played of it so far. And if you need the physical representation, then by all means play it on the Switch. But if you don't, the PS4 version is fine as well. So look, I'm not going to let either of you say anything on that because I don't think there's anything that can be said. So why don't we just move to the topic, because that's what interests me most now. And I believe, you're both, as we referenced at the start, you're both on PlayStation Trophies.org, where Slamma is an event director. So Slamma, what is an event director? Like, what do you do?
What do I do? Well, I am on a group of members who more or less think of different ways to get the members to earn trophies, whether it be singling out individual trophies that you want to go after, or earn a bunch of trophies that do this or get animals. But going back on the history of it all, when PlayStation Trophies first started, it was just a guide location, more or less. And as time went on, the community grew, and this thing called TSL, Trophy Scoring League, started. And what that was you would earn as many trophies as you could, and the trophies were weighted, and It was a big to-do. There were, I believe, 3 seasons of that, and there was a lot of controversy going on because, trophy hunting was in its infancy at the time, and not many people knew much about all the different ways you could go about, all this game sharing and account sharing and all these things that are looked down upon. So as that moved on, that morphed into a more refined thing, and we actually had our 9th edition of it, I think last year, 2 years ago. And with the current landscape, that's not really much of a viable option anymore because of all the easy peasies that are coming out every week and all the VNs you can get that you can finish in 3 seconds, and it just turns into this whole who has more money. So as time went on, the events director team tried to come up with more ideas on how to get the hunting back into trophy hunting. So one of the big things that PlayStationTrophies.org does is we have our own custom trophy lists. So instead of buying this game and you want to earn all the trophies to earn a platinum, we have a list of, say, 50 trophies that are from a variety of games. What this does is it helps you, if not go after those specific trophies that may be in your backlog, it'll also help you expand your game. So you'll go look at this game you may have never thought of before, simply because you're trying to earn this one trophy that you can get to earn this one site award. So what that does is, beyond trying to get just something to go after in the side, because there's a lot of people out there who you buy a game, you find a game, you buy a game, you play it, you're done. That can get monotonous to some people. I know in this current landscape, you get a new easy peasy every week. I'm playing this for 10 minutes, I'm playing this for 10 minutes, I got to stack it 7 times. So what we're trying to do is get away, not really get away, but also embrace it at the same time. It's just a lot that goes on into it. You got to think about, so if there is an easy peasy game, how easy peasy is it? How will this tie into what other people are playing? So the current event happening right now, it's been ongoing since, I believe, April. It's called the Complete-a-thon. The idea is that every week you need to complete at least one game, whether that's a 100% list or a platinum, but it has to be unique. No one else can have played it. And so we're up to, I think, 600 unique games played so far. And it started out where, you would, all the easy peasies got knocked out real quick. And, as time went on, a lot of the more difficult games started to get targeted. So you try to think, in the long run, what kind of game can I play in the background that would go towards this event, as opposed to what can I play now to get this now?
Yeah.
So it's kind of strategic in that way too, because you need to also think, well, who else is playing in this event that might also enjoy a game like this? So you got to go look at their profile, make sure they're not playing it, so they don't submit it before you and then steal your completion. So it's a lot of strategery going on there, and that's one of the more competitive things we're doing right now. I mean, there's a wide gamut of events that we have done, whether it be, like I mentioned, the trophy hunting, where you're just going out earning as many as you can, whether it's getting a custom list where you try to find a game with a trophy on it. Another thing we're doing right now for our subscribers, there's an event where you want to link 5 trophies together by taking the last word in a trophy title and matching it with the first word in the next trophy title.
I like
so
that.
That's actually pretty devious, because it's actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
Because
I'm having troubles with it. I can get 3 or 4, but I can't find a 5th one, and it's really bugging me.
yeah, it takes a lot of work on the back end, because you got to plan it all out, because the way we have it, the rules written, is you have to earn these trophies back to back to back to back.
Oh.
So if you have to even find these trophies. Okay, I found 5 trophies that would work together. Now you have to set them up so you can earn them in the right order. So it's definitely a tough one that we've got created, and I myself am having trouble trying to get it together.
I was just going to ask, so obviously there's strategy involved here. Do people sort of, I suppose they don't share the trophies they found because they're not going to make it easier for other people?
It depends on the event. Sometimes it will be individual event where you're doing this for yourself, and other people will say, I've used this is pretty easy. Sometimes for an event like this is pretty tough, and it really depends on what game you have. I don't think anyone has found here's this new game where you can play and you can earn it in this order and you've got it. But it depends on the event. Sometimes people will reach out and say, hey, this trophy is very applicable. This new game just came out. It has 6 applicable trophies. So, it depends on, one, the difficulty of the event, and two, how
Yeah.
competitive it
I
is.
like that. So I mean, it's almost like an individual challenge by the sound of it as well, isn't it? More than you're against someone else. You're challenging yourself to complete it.
Yes. Yeah, we do. We try to spruce it up every now and again. We have a lot of individual events where you're just doing this one event for yourself and submitting it. We have a lot where you work with a partner. One that comes to mind was one of the first actually events where it worked like that, where you're in a pair, was we wanted you to pop a plat within like a minute of each other. So you'd have to coordinate with another person. Hey, you got your platinum ready? Yeah. And then, okay, let's do it. And then you'd pop it. And then you'd say, okay, yeah, look at our timestamps. They're like 3 seconds apart. And people were trying to get the exact same time. And it came down to a race of who could get it to be the exact same timestamp. And it was a lot of fun that way. We have a lot of events where it's group related, where you get, 4 or 5 different people to do something. We have big old teams. One we did, I think it was last year, called Trophy Tribute, where we took the different mythologies. We had Greek mythology, Aztec, Norse, and Egyptian, and we took the gods that are associated with them, and we assigned them different tasks. So, for example, the lead god for each mythology was, earn a platinum, because they're the big guy. You gotta appease the god by earning a platinum, and then of course you had all your different gods below it. Like you had your trickster god, so you'd want to. So one of the things that we commonly use in events is spelling, which users either love it or they hate it. Well, not everyone hates it. I don't hate it, so not everyone hates it. But yeah, a lot of people don't like it because just finding letters to spell something is really annoying. So
everyone
we always
hates
get this, no more spelling events, please, no more spelling events. So we were like, okay, let's do a not spelling event. So we forced you to not spell a word, which is actually probably a little more difficult because there were a lot of 2-letter words.
It was very difficult, and because I think you had some rule that was like you can't use the same consonant twice, like next to each other or something like that. You had to have 3 distinct letters before you started repeating consonants or something like that.
Something like that. And I know a lot of people were questioning the 2-letter words, so we had to actually generate a list of 2-letter words that existed, because people, you start earning, like, that's a word, really? AO is a word? Like, yeah, that's a word. So we had to have a list of what is a word and what isn't a word. And a lot of people either played and just hoped they found something, or they actually tried to piece together a non-word, which was actually kind of funny.
It must take a lot of work on your end and the team's end to come up with these new ideas then, and different events, I suppose, or different structures like this.
Yeah, we have our own Discord server where we have dozens of rooms where if we have an idea, we'll throw it in a general chat and say, you think this would be a good idea for an event? And we think about it a little bit, go back and forth every now and again, and if it sounds like a good idea, we'll put it in a list as something to think about. And then either the person who suggested it, they'll start to put together the event and start saying, okay, here would be the rules. And then you give them to the other events directors and say, hey, how do these rules look? And then we'd go back and forth and talk about, hey, what about this situation? What if I earned that? And it's a lot of coordination on the back end that a lot of people don't see. It typically takes at least a month straight of trying to, go through what an event would entail. And we would actually have to do some research as to if we're trying to do a specific task, like you need to earn. More recently, we had our site 11th birthday. So we had an event where you needed to bring, one of the tasks was to bring a birthday related item, whether it be like a fork for the food or a cake or balloons or a picture or a hat. We actually have to go through all the trophies and make sure that there are trophies that have that. So if we want to find a certain amount of animals, like, well, there's a lot, what's an animal, figure out what an animal is, see if there's actually trophies that have that animal. Okay, we need forks. Are there any trophies with forks? Yeah, there's one. So yeah, it's a lot of additional work that goes beyond the planning, into research. And we have one guy on our team who's really good at thinking of loopholes. It's like, okay, so if I did that, wouldn't that really be allowed? Like, oh, you suck. Why do you do this? And then we have to rewrite everything. And
It's a system breaker.
yeah, but it's good to have on the team.
Yes, yeah. What I found interesting at a few years ago, I mean, trophy competitions were massive across all the sites. Sort of, particularly 3 years ago, they've slowly died off, and primarily, as you said at the start there, the reason was that it was just a bunch of people throwing money at each other through VNs and just basically how many games you could buy, to keep it going. So with that in mind, like you're moving to these events now, which sound like they would be much more inclusive for people without a huge backlog. That's obviously a consideration then for you that people can't just go out and buy games for an event.
Yeah, we keep that in mind because we know that there's a lot of Japanese games out there that a lot of people don't have access to. So that was actually a consideration we had for this complete-a-thon event. Was the trophy needs to have an NA or EU stack. It can't be just a Japanese game because we wanted people who do not have access to those games to be able to have a chance to win in the end.
Yeah.
So having that ability to have Japanese VNs and all that, it definitely has become an issue where we're definitely keeping that in mind. We have to plan because during this last THL, the top winning team had a ridiculous amount of trophies because they had access to tons of Japanese VNs, and it was just astounding the number of trophies. I think it was a group of 4 and they earned 10,000 trophies by themselves. I don't remember the exact number, but it was just a ridiculous number. Like, okay, well, we can't do this anymore because clearly you guys have shown that this is not a viable option because of just how the availability of trophies is just overwhelming.
Yes, well, and I mean, yeah, I mean, with 10,000, that is achievable through VNs. That, as you say, that is the problem. So in the speed that those games go, and that you can play multiple ones at the same time, unfortunately. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, we probably feel similarly about that, I imagine. So do these events run throughout the year, or do you just do like one a year, or how does this sort of go?
It's not really a set schedule. We do try to do events that revolve around certain holidays. We'll usually have a Valentine's Day one, a Halloween event, a Christmas event, Thanksgiving, whether that's Canadian or United States Thanksgiving. We'll try to have a big event in the summer just because that's when a lot of people are out of school or just have more availability to do things. But there is no real set schedule. We try to not do a bunch of events at once. We try to spread them out a little bit just so it's not, okay, you've done this event, hey, here's another one. And then we don't want to do a burnout in that way where you're like, okay, great, another event. It gives you a little bit of time to go back to doing what you want to do and then maybe realize, hey, I could use another event to help me with my gaming.
Yeah. So I have to ask, because one of the worst things about setting up events and running events is the person that has to go through and check if people have earned these trophies and I suppose cross-check what they're saying. So is it self-policing, or do you have a team that also has to collate all this stuff, the results and stuff?
It's funny you mention that. We do, depending on the event, we will go through and manually check everything to make sure you followed all the rules and make sure the dates are correct, you're within the event time frame, that you didn't break any of the rules. So there is a lot of manual checking on that end. But more recently, I've tried to put some automation into it. So for my job, I am a more or less programmer. So I've tried to take my knowledge of Java programming and add it to pretty much policing the submissions. So if someone submits something, we'll copy. I'll try to use the last THL as an example. So we had the list of all participants. I had their PSN profile in a file. The Java code I wrote would go to each of their profiles, check their numbers, pull them down to a spreadsheet, and generate a leaderboard for me. So there was zero involvement with anyone else. It was just making sure that people weren't, bad mouthing on the forum or anything. And it was a really smooth transition that way. I've tried to do that with a couple other ones. A few years back, we had a backlog event where we wanted people to find their games that have been in their backlog for multiple years, and we wanted you to reach a combined number of hours in which it took you to complete the game. So if you started a game in 2010 and you completed it in 2017, that would be 7 years added to the total. So that was the a big automation effort on my end, because I'm going to that PSN profile page, I'm looking at the first trophy, I'm looking at the platinum, and I'm doing the math on my end and adding it to a total and putting it out in a forum post. And sometimes PSNP doesn't play nice, and it'll have a first trophy and a gap instead of a platinum. So I mean that's really going beyond it, but yeah, it's sometimes it is manual. I try to do automation whenever possible just to make things easier. And it definitely does help, because
it's a massive time sink otherwise.
Going back going back in history a little bit more, one of the more infamous events on PST has been the House Championships.
Aha! I was in the winning house.
Yes.
House triangle.
So it's controversial, and Mindy was involved in it. What a surprise!
Here's how controversial it was.
Yeah, that was a.
I have blocked out the memories of House. I don't remember why it's so infamous, the House Championships. All I remember is that it is infamous.
Yeah, a lot happened that was outside of trophy hunting. It kind of turned into a gang war of sorts, where, you know, House Square was going against House Triangle and House Cross and House Circle and everyone. And we had these propaganda events where you had to create more or less memes that would be judged in the end, and it kind of took into a more vicious tone where I was on House Square and we were in dead last, so people took every opportunity they could to put us down even further. Like, oh, look at House Square, they don't know how to use a controller, blah blah blah. So it was infamous in that aspect, where it really brought the people on the team closer together, and the people on the other teams kind of, you know, not really as much good relations happening at the time. But I think a lot of people do remember at least the great aspect of their team. I know even being on the losing team was a great blast. I met a lot of people that way, just going, because it was a 3-month-long event, and there was so much going on. And another reason why it's so infamous was it did cause a lot of burnout on the staff. I think we had the most people leave during the staff at the same time immediately following it, because they were just like, I'm sorry, I've done this for 3 months straight, I can't do this anymore. So that's another thing we consider, is how it's going to affect us as a staff. If this is something that's just going to drive us up a wall, we probably won't do it, because it's not really worth it to go crazy over. So we try to keep it simple but also interesting without, you know, making it boring. So
well, look, you know,
I have a question. Oh.
Okay, can I throw mine in? Just because it's only short, you know. It would be after you said that. Now, I just have to push you. What is the worst one? What the event that you went with all good expectations, but it just didn't work out? Has there been one that was just been a disaster?
A disaster? No, I don't think there's been any disasters. A lot of people would claim the backlog event was a disaster simply because they didn't reach the goal. We set a goal of 900 hours cumulative across everyone. We hit like 870 something. So a lot of people have a bad feeling in their mouth about that. But the issue was that they thought that the goal was too much and they just couldn't reach it. So a lot of people halfway through, like, I'm done, we're not going to reach this, I'm not going to help out anymore. So if people had kept going, they would have reached it. But I don't think there's been any like disastrous events where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe we did that. Although I would say some of the THLs have had some serious drama around them. I wasn't really involved with the events back then as much, so I can't really speak to it. But I know there was at least 2 THLs where it's like, if you guys don't behave, we're not doing this anymore. Where it got really bad in that case. But as time's gone on, I think the community has gotten a lot more relaxed about it. So it's not as bad anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Sorry, Mindy.
Oh, yeah. This is actually kind of catnates to yours really, really nicely. What do you do if an event is considered a failure, or if the event goals, like the backlog event, just aren't reached? Do you kind of go and discuss what could have been done better? You know, if you did something like this in the future, how would you change it? Or do you just kind of let it go and say, well, it just didn't happen this time?
Well, we definitely do have discussion on the back end. We talk about at least how it went for us as a team. how it affected us, how we were able to keep up with submissions, or it fell behind, or if there was something that we did incorrectly. So there's that portion. We do try to have some feedback of some sort after an event. Usually, the day after it ends, we'll put up either a new thread or just say in the current thread, hey, let us know what you thought, any feedback, anything we could have done better. So we'll take all that new advisement, and we'll typically go back and look at those if we ever want to do something similar. Say, okay, what did they not like last time? And I try to keep a nice little document going whenever someone does have a problem with the event while it's going on. We do try to typically tell them, okay, we understand you're frustrated with this, but there's nothing we can do about it now. If you want to PM me privately, that's fine, but if you could save your negativity for afterwards where we can actually do something about it, we try to do that just so it doesn't overtake the thread, because sometimes someone will say something bad and then people, yeah he's right, and then it'll just pile on that way. So yes, we do take feedback, we do speak with ourselves, our other team members, about how we did. So there is a lot of planning and going back and looking at old events that occur.
Okay. Now, trophy hunters love their digital bling. So, what sort of, you mentioned like site badges? Is there like a reward for completing these competitions, or?
Yeah, you get a nice little 16 by 16 inch pixelated picture.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's added to your profile. There's a little box that's underneath your avatar in your forum that you can show all the events that you've completed. We try to make the awards interesting because a lot of the times we actually have a graphics team as well. So we'll go to them and say, hey, we have this idea for an event. We need an award for it afterwards. What can you guys come up with? So they'll usually give us a few options, and we're like, I wouldn't really want to earn that for completing this event. So yeah, it's really just a little pixel. Sometimes though, we do have other awards. Like I was mentioning, we have those custom lists. Sometimes we'll give out a voucher where you can just redeem it for any one of the trophies in that list. So if you say, oh, I'm never going to play this game, I can just have this voucher and I can not have to play it, and that trophy is earned more or less for the purposes of that. Beyond that, sometimes we have, well, it used to be back in the day when we didn't have subscribership, we would assign custom titles to people. So we had some beat the staff events where a certain staff member would say, okay, anyone want to play me in this game? If you beat me, you get a custom title of your choice. If I beat you, you're going to get a custom title that I assign you. So that used to be one of the things that was kind of fun to get going. But there's no like cash rewards or, yeah, we don't do any of that. It's all just more or less just for the fun of it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Now, I mean, if our listeners wanted to get involved, I imagine they obviously join PlayStation Trophies, but are there sort of requirements to sort of get into the community, like posting and stuff like that, or how does that sort of work? So you could sign up to get involved in these events.
Yeah, most of them. More recently, we haven't been as strict about posting requirements. Usually, there's at least a 1 month join date. Like you can't join the site one day and then immediately join the next. You have to be involved with the site a little bit, just so we're not wasting our time with someone who's going to join the site for 2 days and then disappear. So we'll usually have a 1 month requirement, and it's either 50 or 100 posts, which is really not that hard to do. You just go to all the old games that you used to play and post something in a thread. You can do that in 50 minutes. So it's not that. Or you can subscribe. If you subscribe to the site, all those are waived. And if you want to join the site and start playing immediately, just subscribe and you can join.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Mindy, do you have any follow-ups?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, so there was an event last Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
and this was mostly you spearheading it, right?
You mean the
House of Jigsaw?
Yeah, actually, no, that was Velvet. I would say Velvet was.
Was it Velvet?
Yeah, she did a lot of the legwork behind that one.
Would you consider that? I guess you consider it a success in as much as there was a winner. So the whole idea was people were getting eliminated in each room. But would you consider that there was quite an outcry at the end of it, as I recall, and I think mostly it had to do with the fact that even if you met all the requirements of the room, you could still be disqualified. That's what happened to me. Was I met all the requirements, but then like you did a random dice roll,
Mm-hmm.
and if you hit certain numbers, you were just out through no fault of your own.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people
Sounds like Final Fantasy.
yeah, a lot of people weren't big fans of that. So the idea behind that whole thing was we wanted to do something that was more devious than we would normally do, where maybe pitting people against each other a little bit, maybe being a little unfair for once, where, in the spirit of this, we really took the Saw movies as more or less the inspiration behind it, where, yeah, maybe you did the right thing, but you still had a reason. So, for example, my room was one of the rooms you mentioned where you could die, even if you did. Yeah, we say die, but you could be eliminated even if you met the requirements. So that went back to the deviousness in my head where I was in an event. One of my first big events I was in was called Trophy Survivor. And that was basically the game of Survivor, where they go on the island and do all the tribal council stuff and all that. So it was that idea where everyone was a participant and you had to do these certain tasks and you could get immunity and all that. And when it came down to it, I was in the last 3, I think, and I got eliminated because of a random event. Nothing I had control over. I did everything right. I couldn't have done anything more right, but I still got eliminated. So I took that as, the fire for my room where, okay, even if you
So it was your revenge.
Yes. So even if you did the right thing, I got eliminated. So one of you will get eliminated just for this payback. So yeah, a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people survived. Some people got eliminated. They didn't like it. We had another room. I think it was similar to that where you could have got eliminated if you did something wrong. One of the one of the more hated parts of that event was a rule that was thrown in just more of as a joke that took a life of its own. So we added a rule that said you cannot say the word mayo at all or you're eliminated. Because we have had events in the past where mayo has played a big role.
Is mayo a color?
Yes. So when that game first came out, there was an event that it basically ruined where you could just buy My Name is Mayo and you've won the event. So that kind of rolled itself into other events where, yeah, we had like a color event where you need to earn a color. People were like, oh, is mayo a color? Haha, I'm so funny. So we took all that pent-up frustration, like leave us out of the mayo discussion. And we put a rule in, say, if you say the word mayo, you are gone. So some people did not see the rule. They would say, hey, I just finished My Name is Mayo. Sorry, dude, you're gone. And then some people would quote that person. Sorry, you quoted them. It's in your poster. You're gone. And it kind of turned into a game where people were trying to get other people eliminated by, alluding to it and trying to catch them off guard, or someone who actually already got eliminated would jump in and say the word mayo and hope they'd catch someone, or someone would post a picture of like something that looked like a jar of mayonnaise. And, so I think one person actually did post a jar of mayonnaise, but they didn't think it said the word mayo, but I zoomed in and I'm like, nope, I circled it right there. Mayo, you're gone.
That's brutal.
Yeah, so a lot of people didn't like that. They're like, oh, this is such a dumb rule. And, sorry, rules are rules. You knew them, and you know the rules. So, yeah.
We're all terrible people.
Yeah, that one was very infamous in that regard. But we had, I think that was, as an EG member, that was the most fun we've had because, you're sitting in the back and you're like, how can we be evil now? And it was, usually we're trying to say, how can we be fair and let everyone be able to complete and have fun? But this time we're like, okay, how can we be evil? And so that was, it was definitely the most fun I've had on an event.
Let me ask Slamma, I know recently a lot of trophy hunters are complaining about burnout. I don't know if a lot of it has to do with the fact that, Rata Leica games and all these short games come out and there's like 6 stacks and they, for some reason, feel like they have to do all of them. And that contributes to the burnout. Do you think these help just in the kind of, I guess you kind of switch your mind? You see these events as a different way to earn trophies. Do you think that helps with the burnout, or do you think the help would be minimal at best?
Well, I sure hope it helps. I mean, that's kind of the reason we do it, is to, give people a new way to earn trophies instead of just saying, okay, this game came out and I'm going to earn the platinum in 10 minutes, so I'm going to buy it. So what we're trying to do, while we do embrace that, okay, this is a thing, we have to figure out how to make our events that either include it or find a way to make it not an issue, which is really difficult because, a new game will come out every week. And if you're making an event that has a very specific goal, you don't know next week a trophy list is going to come out that's going to ruin the event. That has happened once already, and it's always something that we're trying to keep an eye on for. But to your question, I don't think that it's going to completely edge the burnout. I mean, I hope it does, because if you are a serious trophy hunter, you're going to get those games anyways, more or less because you have to, which is unfortunate. So if you're trying to keep on the leaderboards, if you're trying to keep your platinum count up, you more or less have to buy them. So if you're going to buy them, we're going to hope that the event we have will, in some shape or form, be able to assist you with doing the event, whether that's either having a specific task that will say, okay, you can use this game, no problem, we don't mind, we know you're going to get it anyways, that's cool. Or if it's, hey, there's this whole list of new games coming out, that'll give you something to look at. Say, okay, I need to get an animal trophy, let me look at the new Easy Peasy, see if there's an animal trophy in there. So it'll give you something else to look at, as opposed to, how long is this game going to take? It gives you something else to look at. Hey, what kind of trophy titles does this thing have? Does it have this thing in here? And it gives you something else to look at instead of just, difficulty and time all the time. So yeah, I hope it helps burnout for people. I know some people doesn't, but that's because it's no fault of ours. We're doing the best I can. But I forgot where I was going with that point. But yeah, I really hope it does help.
So I want to propose an event idea that I really like, and I want you guys to do it because I think it would be fun. And I think it should be a trophy choose your own adventure. Where you have the set of rules, like if the next trophy you earn is bronze, turn to page 5. If the next trophy is silver, turn to page 6. That kind of thing.
We have actually discussed something like that. It kind of morphed away from it. That was the original idea, was to do a choose your own adventure type thing, but it kind of morphed into something else. But that is definitely something we've talked about in the past. And I think the problem with that is it requires a bit of authorship on the back end, because you're not just going to say, hey, go earn this and you've done this. You want to have a reason for doing that. So if you say earn a bronze and you get this next level, or earn a silver and you get this one, you want to give them a reason to do it. I say, hey, get this one, and you go over there. You want to give them some story behind it, or something to go with, which is, I think, more the issue. I don't think there's a lot of authors on our team, so generating a meaty story behind the choose your own adventure, I think, would be the biggest difficulty we would have. But it is definitely something we have discussed, and it's definitely not out of the picture.
Do you have any ideas for one, CJ, for an event?
No, look, to be honest, I didn't, before we spoke today, Sam, I didn't actually realize how in-depth this sort of was. Like I don't have a lot of interest in trophy events anymore. I did for a time, but they were predominantly because I was tired of just the pure volume things and stuff like that. But listening to you speak today, it's been quite eye-opening. I will definitely have to come on the site and have a look around, I think, because I really like things that are, you're challenging yourself, or you're, as you say, you're getting exposed to new games or new lists and things. So I think that's fantastic. And I would encourage our listeners, like, if you are on that leaderboard chase, like, you're going to get there either way. It just happens from playing and stuff. But things like this, it sounds like a great way to travel on that journey, rather than just, as you say, just slam through 6 stacks of the same game that you may or may not enjoy. At least now you have a reason for playing stuff and finding stuff. So I'm impressed. Yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah, and to not be a homer too much, PlayStationTrophies.org isn't the only community that has events out there. There's also TrueTrophies.com. I think they have an active one that they're about to start. I looked it up before this, but they have events that they do. While PSN Profiles doesn't have an official event team, they do have a subforum in there where any user can post any idea, and it really helps give you something to go forward and do. A lot of them have backlog challenges where you go through and you find all your old backlogs. So I think it's really helpful in that regard, where you can just find a group of people that will help you either do an event or just give you a reason to do something, as opposed to just going out there just trying to earn trophies just for the sake of earning trophies. I think having a mission behind it all is really paramount to your enjoyment of it all.
Yeah, I would, that's very well said. I would definitely agree with you. Yeah, that sounds good. You know what I was just thinking as we were talking as well is you probably have a lot of very funny stories of things you've seen in these events and things like this as it's gone on over the years. So we will definitely have to get you back at some point when you've recovered from this experience, and we can delve into that side of things as well. But that's great. Yeah, I mean, Mindy, is there anything else you wanted to follow up there, or shall we shuffle across?
I don't think so. I think we need to get you back on, talk about, get some blooper music playing and talk crazy stories of events gone wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm just glad that Mayo game is continuing to cause torture and pain.
Yeah, it always rears its head one way or another.
It's never going away, is
I
it?
still have a stack. That's the thing. I think the people who made the Mayo jokes, they've run out of stacks. I still have a Mayo stack that I could whip out at any point.
Yep.
Well, you say that, but tomorrow in the Japanese store, who knows what could happen? So.
That's very true.
That is so true. Very true.
We will have to wait and see. Well, look, thank you for that. Look, why don't we, listeners, now that you're charged up, you're eager to go, and I strongly suggest that you do seek out that and have a look, or as Slamma said, the other sites as well that run them. Have a look, and it's a great way to meet people as well, and you'll meet all sorts of different people. I think they're not all trophy whore 5-minute spam gamers like myself. You'll meet some high quality people in there that play everything, so it's worth a look. But look, we must do the spam of the week. I apologise, Slamma. I'm sure this doesn't excite you in any way, but it's a staple of our show.
I don't know. It's helping us give him a list of games that
it's true.
He'll have to forbid in the next event.
There you go.
Well, look,
Yes.
just anything on my profile would probably fit that descriptor. So let's have a look. What can we find? Does anyone want to throw anything out? What do we? Look at that. That word sweep has got four stacks already.
Yeah, I think that might be a spam game, mainly because I'm sure there will be solutions that will be easy to fill in. So after someone provides the solutions, it's definitely going to be an easy peasy spam game. But for those people who want to just play it, it's not going to be a spam game, but it will be with all the stacks.
Look, I'm going to throw out the super, I don't even know how to say it, Super Willow demake, which was was that the rat game of last week, I believe? Yes, yeah. But look, there'll be an Asian stack of that still to come as well, which is fantastic. And of course, listeners, if you're a little behind on your Asian shopping experience, of course, the fantastic Hoggy 2 came out on the Asian store on Friday. So, there's another Hoggy waiting for you as well. Mindy, another Hoggy. Anything else we can...
I have only done one, so...
You should do it again. It was quite enjoyable. What about this Bear With Me? This is high-quality spam, I suppose.
I guess it would... You put it under high-quality spam.
Yeah.
Good game, worth playing, but it is a fairly quick completion.
Can we see in there? I'll throw out the solo that I talked about because I know that it can be done in a couple of hours. I don't think there's a PlayStation walkthrough yet, but there is an Xbox video guide. I'm sure there'll be one coming soon to PlayStation.
I got one here. It's not announced. It is announced, but there is no trophy list yet. But the next rat game has been posted on their Twitter. It's going to be Gravity Duck.
Gravity Duck.
Gravity Duck. Yes, it looks like it's a platformer where you're a duck, and I think it's gravity that controls you.
Huh.
Hence the name.
Excellent.
Interesting.
You sound perplexed, Mindy. Are you looking for a deeper meaning behind that, perhaps?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe just a scotch.
That sounds like fun, though.
I'll throw on here, just from the drop, honestly, I'll throw on this Gravity Ghost.
Oh, yes.
So this is on the drop for this week. And it's a puzzle game, but by the description of the game, like, you can't die, there's nothing attacking you. So I think it's one of those games that once, depending on what the puzzles are, once the solution gets up, will be fairly quick spam. And on a related note, again on the drop, you've got Fatal 12. That's a visual novel, so those tend to get pushed into the spam category.
Oh, it is a visual novel.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah. I didn't see that. Yeah, good. And of course, the Data Live Rio reincarnation, the EU version as well, I think came out last week. Although that is not a quick VN. It's definitely not a quick VN if you're going to read it, but it's not even a quick VN if you're going to skip it either. So be careful. Oh, and Woodle Tree Adventures. Has anyone played this yet?
No.
No. So look, in full disclosure, I should warn the listeners, I don't accept codes usually. Well, that's because I usually don't get offered them. But under this very amusing circumstance, which I won't go into, I did get a code for this one. So I thank friend that sent that to me just to appease me. And I did try it. Look, it's definitely not for me at all. It's a platformer or whatever else. So the right stick controls the camera angles, and that was just a bit too much for my limited brain power at the time. But I understand that it's quite quick. But it is only 100%, and it is two stacks. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a lot. Is there anything else there? Oh, there's another crossovers. It's excellent.
I think potential spam, depending on how this game plays. This Agent A, a puzzle in disguise.
Mm.
Oh, actually, you know what? Now I'm seeing complete all conversations with. I withdraw this.
You can't. You've already penetrated the spam loop.
I will put it into the category of fast platinum, but probably not spam.
Well, maybe that's the solution. Maybe that's the event I would like, a spam event, but not where you play the games. You have to speculate, and you have to submit what you think are going to be spam, and then then it's like a stock market for spam. You have to wait and see. That would be a fun event. Anyway, that's probably only fun for me. But I would enjoy
I feel like we have done something like that where you've created your own game and made your own trophy list.
Oh, yes. That's perfect.
So I think that would be a fun, easy peasy spam type event where you have to generate your own easy peasy game and a trophy list and how fast it's going to take.
Yeah.
No, it was a trophy guide. It was for my birthday.
Well, yeah, we did that too, but I think we actually did another one where you created a game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. There's so many events, it's hard to remember them all.
Well, look, listeners, I'm definitely going to log onto this site this week and look into all this, because it's been fascinating today to learn about it. And I think there's a lot of enjoyment and fun to be had there. So I'd like to thank you, Slamma, for joining us. I hope you had a reasonable time.
I certainly did. Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Not a problem. Now, if we're trying to find you, would you like to do some self-promotion? Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at SlammaJamma28. I'm also mainly on PlayStationTrophies.org. I'm one of the, I'd say, more active members nowadays, where if you post something, I'm probably going to respond to you. I have a YouTube channel. I have no idea how to get to it. There's a link somewhere, somehow. It's not like YouTube/Slamma or anything. It's like YouTube/channel/ some nonsense. But yeah, definitely Twitter or PlayStation Trophies is where you can find me.
Yeah, perfect. And Mindy, where can we find you?
I am on Twitter at The Mind Is a City. I also co-run the Push to Plat Twitter. I am also on PlayStationTrophies.org on the guide team. If you've ever wanted to learn how to write a trophy guide, contact me over there. I will help you through the process. Also, newly created, we'll see how this goes, have a coffee page. Ko-fi. I really don't know how it's pronounced, but I think it's coffee.
Coffee?
ko-fi.com/The Mind Is a City. It's just a little tip jar. It occurred to me a while back that, in my interview I said, people will give money to video guide creators and not written guide creators, and I realized, well, I'm not giving people a way to do that. Maybe people do want to do that. So if you want to help support my writing, feel free. Do not feel pressured to at all. It's not a subscription thing. It's just it's like a tip jar. So that's there too if you want.
How do people find that? Sorry, Mindy.
Oh, ko-fi.com/The Mind Is a City.
Perfect. And listeners, look, we now have our own Push to Platinum Club on the PS4 community. So this took quite a while to set up because I really don't know how those things work. But anyway, it is there now. So, if you're one of those people that likes to post platinum pictures or, whatever, you want to throw us a question, just a comment or some absurdity, please feel free to do so. And what we're going to do is I will read out the people that have earned plats in the week as we go. So having a look, we'll have to start with the Mind as a City sheet for 501 with Bear With Me and Sagebrush as well. Congratulations, Mindy. And look, Slamma Jammer, we've talked about this today, haven't we? 140, Modern Warfare. 139 was Portal Knights. That's fantastic. And then look at this banana here, this affectatious donk. He's trying to start it off with a Super Willy Wheeloo. That's an achievement for him, that one. So, but listeners, I see that we're picking some people up. We haven't advertised it yet, but feel free to jump in there if you like. The show does have its own Twitter at push2plat, and the show is available on iTunes, Podcast, YouTube, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Radio, Spotify, Himalayas, if I figure that out, and a few other ones around the traps. Just a reminder, if you could give us a like and subscribe, or just reach out and throw us a comment, it all helps so that we can find wonderful guests like Slamma today to bring to you, and we can learn. So that being said, I'm going to sign off here. Have a fantastic week of trophy hunting. Happy gaming. Have a blast. Thank you. And thank you, Slamma and Mindy.
Thank you.
Bye.